This video is going to be around what exactly I do at the weekend to be set up for the week ahead. So I'm going to do it for one or two pairs just to show you time frame by time frame. I've not done it yet, so you'll see how I do things. I don't go below the 4 hour. On the weekend, as I've said many a time before, I feel that going below the 4 hour at the weekend is pointless unless doing back testing or whatever. For the week ahead, for forecasting, it's pointless because by the time you wake up, there's going to be 8 to 10 new candles plus. That all have changed a lot. So let's go straight into it. What I do is I usually start on the monthly to be like, right, okay, well, how's the month going right now? Well, as you can see, it's pretty bearish, but we're coming into an area that is a potential break and retest area on the monthly, and we're also at the lows of this current month, which then says to me, okay, yes, it can keep going lower, but we're coming more and more into an area that serious buyers can come in, especially given the last month's bullish pressure. There should be at least some kind of reaction. So now I go into the weekly. Now, what's the weekly saying? Well, the weekly's saying clearly that last week was a very strong bearish week. So what I then do is I take the raise to mark out the high and the low of last week going into this week, because again, it's like the high and low of a daily candle, high and low of a 4 hour candle. To me, it's important. Now, because it's a weekly candle, it can't, like, it should show on the 4 hour anyway, because it is such a high time frame that it's probably going to take time before it reacts, essentially. But it's always good to mark out. So monthly, weekly, as I say, best thing to do is take some notes down, just do a bit of a checklist for yourself. If you're not working with myself, then obviously you can create your own checklist. If you're working with me, then you know to use the checklist that I've provided. If you don't have the checklist, get in touch, no problem with that. So let's go to the daily. The daily is where things start to get more kind of in depth, because it's the time frame that makes sense. Now, let's mark out things. We have a potential break and retest area. It's not always going to be respected, as we know, because that the trend just couldn't keep going and going and going. But as you can see from last week, we had a break and retest area that was respected, and then we've pushed through down again. So it's good to mark out. And also, if price closes back above this area, which is obviously including this wick from Thursday, if it closes back above, then it could be used as support, essentially waiting for that 4 hour support or a daily candle close to show that it could be used as support to then actually start making this push. And it's essentially what could be classified as a breakout, break back in. So we have this support, we have this area. What can also happen is we push back in, we use this as support, and we go higher, which could happen due to the last month, due to the fact that we've pulled back quite a lot. Now, on Monday, I would expect immediately still a push down, even though Monday usually is against the trend of the rest of the week. That could also be the case that, well, if we do push down on Monday, then it could make sense that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, going into Friday, we could have bullish. Likewise, we could still fall down into last month's lows, which is around 1.1920, which is a good 150 pips from here. So there's options for both long and shorts. Again, I'm someone that I'm not going to, especially in the higher time frames, I'm not just going to say, right, I'm short this week, unless it's clearly obvious in terms of the last month, the last week, the trends, the immediate momentum. I'm always going to be aware of potential areas where the opposition can come in, even if they don't, because obviously each daily candle close throughout next week is then going to kind of say, right, okay, well, this is actually what's happening. You can't forecast too much because things can change. You have to be dynamic. You have to have your plans, but then if the market shows you something different, you've also got to have contingency plans. You've got to know how to react. rather than just being stubborn and sticking with it, that's not really going to be of use to you in the long term. So now we go to the 4 hour. You can see that these purple areas basically are the high and low of every week. So what I'm going to do is this is the low basically, but there's not been a bullish candle yet, so I need to wait until that actually happens. More often than not, whenever that occurs, it it happens as soon as the market opens. It usually establishes some kind of support. So by Monday morning, it should be sorted. So just now, it's basically in this kind of area because this is the low of last week. But the thing is, it's also the low of the week. It still has to find some kind of support, and then that's where it will be. So this is our kind of original starting range, which is obviously quite large because euro dollar had a nice push on Friday. Barring that, we also have this break and retest area that is still to be it's basically still to be tested. Obviously, we tried to break through it, closed beyond, but immediately rejected, and then respected this structure resistance again to then get that next push. Trend wise, this is your lower high, this is your lower low. We have obviously resistance here as well. This is a breakout, break back in, resistance used, head and shoulders in a downtrend, whatever you want to use. It came up to a break and retest area, this touch here. So it's all there. For me to look for longs on euro dollar, I would have to obviously see some kind of euro strength across the board, but I would also have to see technically that price gets back up above this red area that is break and retest area just now, and then actually doesn't respect it and starts breaking more structures to the upside, which I would then start looking for that another push to the upside. Other than that, I would just be looking for some kind of pullback either to maybe this area here or deeper into this area or even up into these highs. But if it comes up into here, it's not as strong a downtrend as what it would seem to be here because we've been able to get past this point and the break and retest point. And usually for me and through my experience, through my knowledge, if a break and retest area isn't respected, then the trend therefore isn't as strong. Therefore, you have to expect a bit of a range in market, or even if it does go beyond the break and retest area and still respect the structure, it's usually going to be a longer time before it starts going with the trend again. So that's euro dollar. Immediate, I'm looking for shorts, but I'm also aware that buyers could step in around this area due to the fact that we are overextended on the daily and the 4 hour. And on the monthly, last month was a strong bullish candle that we are quite far into that this month, and we're at the current lows of the month as well. So again, it makes sense that we're going to have some kind of buyers coming in at some point. That as a day trader is probably going to be a long enough trending move to take a trade. So yeah, that is euro dollar. The next one I'll do is I'll do dollar CAD. Pound dollar is usually similar to euro dollar. It's just about what is more like weaker or stronger in that sense. Euro Aussie, I've already spoke about the euro, so yeah, we'll go with dollar CAD. It's basically the same process, but I just want to be able to give it to you basically so that you can take a note of it if you aren't already aware of how I do things, and then it could be of use to you. So let's start on the monthly again. This month is somewhat sideways basically. We've had a wick to the up and down, but strong bearish last month. So again, we would expect euro dollar does the opposite to dollar CAD. So if we start seeing the dollar strengthen or weaken, then obviously that's going to have effect on euro dollar, pound dollar, and dollar CAD amongst other currencies. But that's just usually the general kind of area. So we've taken out the lows of last month, and we're basically just having a reaction from that, which makes sense. again, if you take out the lows or the highs of the last 4 hour, last day, last week, it's going to have a reaction the first time that price does that. It's just the same as structure. So you just have to keep these simple concepts in mind. Basically, it's nothing. I don't trade complicated. That's why it's simple FX. But it's just about doing the simple things well. That's how I see most sports. I think that sports, skills, professions, of course, you have your fancy kind of side of things that you can do, but you have to have the foundations in place. You have to have the simple to understand processes that you do day in, day out to just then allow you to add that bit of flair, to add that bit of extra kind of skill or understanding, experience, etc., that you can use because you're doing the basics very well. It makes sense to then do it. If you can't do the basics well, if you don't understand the concepts of what I'm saying, understand them more, and then a lot of things will fall into place. So let's just mark out last week. It's pretty much sideways. It's taken out the high and the low of the previous week, which was obviously low volume due to end of the festive period. So it closed somewhat bullish, but I mean we still have this resistance, which will be which will be clearer on the daily. That was essentially the push that made the new low. So we've tested that area, not closed beyond it. It's in a downtrend on the weekly. So yeah, again, okay, we closed slightly bullish, and we closed back above this support area. So weekly saying that both options are possible in terms of buyers or sellers being in charge this week. Now coming into the daily. Now I've not looked at the chart since Friday. This is just me looking at things now, so I'm not doing it as in I'm just looking at it, speaking it out loud is how I would do to myself for the first time since I've seen. So we have Friday was a strong bullish day. So I wouldn't be looking for shorts immediately to start the week, that's for sure. Now, would I be looking for longs? Well, I would want a kind of deep pullback to get a kind of area that makes sense. Now, if I mark out this area here, which was basically daily resistance, created the kind of push that didn't close as a new low, but just about pushed as a new low. If price can get above here, close beyond the wick of this area, which was last week's high, then yeah, we should be going into 1.2915. But also this could be an area that actually makes sense to then see sellers coming in again, see sellers coming in on the 4-hour daily chart and looking for that kind of swing to the lows again, which could be a nice push, but it might not happen till Tuesday afternoon, something like that. You just have to wait for that kind of, whenever it's the main move of the week kind of thing. So you have to just wait for it to happen. You're not going to get the main move of the week every day. Now let's go to the 4-hour. Again, I hope you're understanding what I'm doing. I hope you're just taking it bit by bit. Pausing the video if you feel as if I'm going too fast. Pause, take some notes, come back to it. That's the joy of these YouTube videos. I'm able to speak about things, but then people are able to stop, rewind, go over again, take some notes, all this, that. Obviously the course is more in depth and you can do it with more insight into exactly how I trade, but this is basically what I do, like getting the right structure. To me, the right structure, the right levels, the foundation of trading is this. If you can do this properly and do it well, day in, day out, as I keep saying to everyone, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's true. Then I feel that it just makes things so much easier. So for me, this is basically the last the last high and the last low of last week. So obviously this is connected to the open of the candle that created the resistance. That's how I always work as well. It's always towards the open, to the body rather than the wick, but obviously it includes this wick. I just don't want to take over my whole screen. So looking at the 4 hour, the 4 hour is basically quite a mess just now. It's had a strong push to the upside, but we're coming into an area that caused a strong push to the downside. So I would have to see what price does. In terms of break and retest, we had a close beyond here, quick retest on Friday, and then gone. So to me, there's not really any immediate break and retest area either. There is this obviously key area that is a longer term kind of area that I expect price is going to react from again whenever it gets there. But because it's cutting through candles, I'll mark it out. But I know that by the time price gets there, it's not going to be hit there and then within 4 hours drop all the way back down. This could be a move that lasts a good couple of days. And likewise, if we get above here and go to the highs and higher, then obviously, again, that's fine. So we have this area here. There's quite a few resistance areas around here, to be honest. We have this area, we have this area, we have this area, and then we have obviously this area, which was the fake out of this area from last week, which I spoke about in a previous video that did very well in terms of understanding the structure, understanding where price could reverse from on dollar CAD last week. So yeah, to me, dollar CAD, looking at it like what it is just now, it needs more time for me. Obviously, immediate, it's still bullish, but the trend on the daily is bearish, but the previous day was bullish. There's a lot of mixed signals coming from dollar CAD right now that it might need Monday morning, the whole of Monday, to kind of figure out what it wants to do. Yes, there could be short-term trades, but I'm talking kind of the main move of the week, which obviously within that you usually get the best short trades anyway, in my eyes. So yeah, there's plenty of things to do for price, and even if we start seeing more sales coming in here, we have this push all the way down 100 pips or so and beyond if it wants to keep going. But I'd say that it does look as though it could go a bit higher before it wanted to turn around if that's what it wants to do. In terms of longs, I don't know. I would really have to see the dollar getting strong to warrant it. And obviously, if price comes into here, this kind of area, short-term buys could make sense for Monday if the momentum's there. I know Monday's usually a bit kind of off in comparison to the rest of the days. So yeah, it's just dollar CAD is essentially give it a bit more time and things will become clearer. There's no point in trying to force it just now. It just requires a bit of patience. I've been playing chess quite a bit recently since the Queen's Gambit and obviously lockdown, etc. And something that chess has taught me is you can't always look for the all-out attack move every single time that you look to take a move. Every time it's your turn. Sometimes you just have to create a move that then makes your next couple of moves even better. So it's the same with trading. Sometimes you just have to give a pair a day or a 4 hour candle or whatever to then create that better, smoother trade that if you just waited for, it's worth it anyway, rather than just trying to find an opportunity every time you look at a pair. It's just not possible to have clean trades every single time. So anyway, I hope this has been of use to you, and these two pairs have helped you. Obviously, I'm going to finish the rest of my analysis for the week ahead, and then I'm also going to do another video on a couple of more pairs, just going over what I think could happen for the week ahead, and But obviously, by that time, the analysis, etc., will all be already be done, and this is more of a video to show you what I'm doing to create the analysis.